and Steve, they roll the dice. Fantasy dreams ain't always nice. Crunching numbers late at night, seeking that glory shining bright. Touchdowns, fantasies on their mind. Draft day heroes hard to find. In the trenches week by week, every matchup fierce and sleek. That damn fantasy show, where the great-eyed dreams get sown. Passion, fire, blood, and bone, chasing titles, claim the throne.
Welcome in to That Damn Fantasy Show. I'm Paul Catalina alongside Emory Winter today. Steve May has COVID, so he's decided not to spread it around the studio, and so he was very nice to not do the show today. He has sent me some starts and sits that we'll get to later. But I asked Emory, who's one of our producers, to be on the show today. Emory is I would say a mid-level fantasy football player at this point. You're about, what would you say, 5 years into your fantasy football journey?
So five, yes. I mean, I've been doing a league, like the oldest league that I've been doing, I did it with my dad whenever I was in third grade.
Okay.
And so, but, I mean, up until I got to like high school, I really wasn't like participating. Okay. It was more of him just doing all of it and kind of sort of getting my opinion. But yeah, 5 years has been where I've been running my whole team and stuff like that. So.
Okay. So I thought it would be fun, since Steve is not here, for you to ask me questions about your team, your league, and then we will do that. And this is a service we would like to offer anyone. So if you would like to hit me up on Twitter at Paul Catalina and say, hey, I'd like to be on the show and, proffer some fantasy advice from you. I'm happy to do that, and we'll do it here with Emory, and we'll see how it works going forward. But we'll put you on the show. We'll have you record a video and send it to us, or maybe we can even have you on live and do it. We have the technology to do those things. So Emory is the first. He's the test subject of this.
Love it.
So he's going to be here, and Emory is going to ask me questions about his fantasy team this week, and that'll kind of lead me into some subjects. We're going to have a shorter show today because Steve is not here, so there's not going to be some things we can bounce off. But I'm also...
And I'm a little camera shy.
Yeah, you're a little camera shy. But Emory, I'm also going to ask you a couple things about my team and get your opinion on it. Because listen, good advice can come from any corner of the globe.
There you go.
I'll tell this story. It has nothing to do with anything fantasy football-wise, but one day my wife and I got in an argument, as you are wont to do. Garrett's married. He knows this. It's unavoidable.
Yep.
You're going to get in arguments. And so sometimes in an argument, as a husband, you think there's an opportunity to win. And here's the thing. You don't win. Like, even when you're right, you don't win. It's not a I think competitive people see things as there's like a win or lose kind of situation. Mm-hmm. No. At best, it's all a draw, and it's not even really a game. But that's how, a sports guy's mind works. It's like, okay, I see an opportunity here. I can actually win. I know that I'm right, and I was, but it was worth zero. Like, it wasn't worth anything. It wasn't worth anything. So I went to the store to get her some flowers. And as I'm getting her these flowers, there was a guy behind me in line, and he's like, oh, those are nice. And he was getting flowers. It was at the grocery store, so it wasn't like I didn't curate this thing. I just wanted to make a quick, nice gesture.
You weren't going to a botanist or anything.
No. I'm not. I wasn't like, hey, I need the lily.
You weren't in big trouble.
Yeah, I need the lily that only blooms under the blood moon to show her how much. No, none of that. So I said, I was like, oh, are you in trouble too? And he goes, no. He's like, this is, she sent me up here to get this. It's fine. I said, oh, okay. I said, let me ask you this. I'm only a year in. Will I get any better at this? And he goes, no, you won't. And knowing that I won't get better, it was like Simon Cowell telling me that I won't make it as a singer. It was the most liberating advice I've ever gotten in my life. So it also said, like, you know what? If you leave your ears open, advice from the rest of the world can be fun. So it can do that. And We also, Emory, we have a segment that I do at every show called "The Hell Was That?" And that's where we talk about people who didn't have good fantasy weeks.
Right.
So we will do that with your team this week because I have a team that I'm about to change their name to "The Hell Was That?"
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm
Yeah.
a little frustrated with my team this week.
Okay, so let's get into it, Emory. What do you got?
Okay. So at the beginning of the year, I was very high on the Dolphins'
Yes.
offense. I drafted Tyreek with my first pick. Came back around and got A-Chain. So now
Yeah.
I have both of them. The first 2 weeks killed it for me.
Yeah.
Loved them. These past 2 weeks, I mean, without Tua, it's brutal.
Well, that leads me into some of Steve's advice for this week from his COVID prison. All Dolphins wide receivers are benchable until if Tua returns. Now, Achane, they're going to score some points. And
You would think.
yeah, and I think Tyler Huntley is probably the guy for the next few weeks.
Right.
So Achane probably a guy you can keep in or like maybe move him to a flex or something. But what are your other options? Let's go through your wide receiver and running back options so we can plug that in, including who is available on waivers that we'll process tonight.
Okay, gotcha. So right now, my starting running backs are A-Chain and James Mason.
Okay.
And then my wide
Jordan Mason.
James
James Mason is a very famous actor from the 50s.
And then for the wide receivers, I have Ayuk, Marvin Harrison, Keon Coleman, Tank Dell, Tyreek, and then Alec Pierce.
Okay. So Keon Coleman's a rookie, and he's had some
Right.
He's gonna get involved. Now, here's what I do think with Keon Coleman. If the Bills can get Devontae Adams, who's about to be traded, and everybody should keep an eye on that, we'll talk about that in a minute, then that's going to improve his lot a little bit because he'll be open more. But he's a red zone threat because he's so tall and jumpy. He's great at that. Also, he's one of my sons.
I sipped the cool. I mean, I was hearing that he was going to be
wide
receiver one.
I think eventually he will be. I think that's gonna
he's
but
so
5 games, more range, whatever it is, and it's hard for a rookie. He's so talented. Alec Pierce, not a bad one to maybe sneak in there.
I picked him up on the waivers a couple weeks ago after he just went crazy the first 2 weeks.
Now, Ayuk has not had a good season so far, which falls in line with holdouts. Holdouts, it takes a couple weeks.
Right.
It took CeeDee Lamb a couple weeks, and then look what happened this last week. CeeDee Lamb became CeeDee Lamb. So Ayuk, someone I would continue to push out because eventually he will get back in it because he's with a team that he's familiar with. It's not like he's new.
Is Debo what's his?
He's back. He's back. He's back. Kittle is back. So like this week, I'm dropping Jawan Jennings, although he was really good for me for 2 weeks.
Right.
And he's like wide receiver 3 across a lot of leagues, like as far as points. But I think that's going to go down. Although if you can get Jawan Jennings and want to roll the dice, I mean he's got a hot hand right now. So sometimes teams don't mess with that. But running back wise, what else you got?
I have Najee Harris.
Okay, Najee Harris, keep him in, especially this week against the Cowboys. Especially no Tank Lawrence, no Micah Parsons this week.
All right, I'm sold.
Run roughshod. Yeah, Najee Harris going to have a good day.
Love it.
Jalen Warren's also out, so that means more.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also Zach Moss.
Okay.
Who went crazy last week.
Plays Baltimore this week, so
okay.
Just keep that in mind.
And then I was going with your FSU.
Trey Benson?
Yep.
Trey Benson is a stash.
Right.
Because James Conner, if his career proves out, he's going to miss some time. That's a really good offense. Trey Benson had 50 yards, 60 yards this week, just in mop-up duty and relief duty of it. So he's got that potential. Trey Benson will be the starter, especially if you have a dynasty league. Trey Benson's one I would think about holding on to because I do think that
smart.
next year that's a thing. About who do I keep? Who should I keep? Is there a young player that people would be like, oh, why is he doing that? Like Trey Benson, because eventually, people get tired of running backs and just throw them on the heap. And the Cardinals have clearly drafted Trey Benson to, step into that spot. So if James Conner, that's one of those, he's kind of handcuffed there. So I would play, like, HM, not, like, terrible to play because, again, their offense has got to come from somewhere, but still, like, that's what I would do. So there's who's your court, like, what is your, so if we do the roster, like, so just tell us what your lineup is this week.
This week, or I guess it was last week, was Lamar Jackson.
Okay, great.
A-Chain. Mason, Ayuk, Marvin Harrison, Brock Bowers, Najee Harris, Packers D, and the Houston kicker.
Okay, good. That's all good. We don't use defenses in the leagues except for one I play in, but I stream defenses. I just look for who's playing a crappy team. So there we go. All right. Well, you looks good. And then for this week, I think you're all right.
But I mean, last week I also did sit Tyreek, which just hurt every bean in my body.
Yeah, I know. It's counterproductive to what you want. Also, don't play James Mason. He was the bad guy in North by Northwest. So he's been dead a long time. Mr. Kaplan. All right, so here's some waiver ads you need to think about, Emory. Trey Sermon, Joe Flacco, Kareem Hunt, Justin Watson from Kansas City, Juju Smith-Schuster from Kansas City, and Trey Tucker of the Raiders. Rashee Rice out for probably out for the year, although they're maybe a second opinion he's going to come back. But
that injury was
but he has a bad injury. It's also, so those guys are good. First of the bye weeks this week, so make sure you're on your buys. You change those out. Highest over-under this week is Ravens versus Bengals. So go ahead and get those players in the lineup. So Zach Moss makes a lot of sense. So it's a highest over-under. The lowest over-under is Raiders versus Broncos. So get all those guys out. And there's a good chance that Devonta Adams does not play in this game. Even if he's not traded, they might just make him a healthy scratch.
Would that be good news at all for Brock Bowers?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, probably. And, Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers, anybody else who's a receiver on that team would be good. Cortland. Why am I forgetting his name?
Sutton?
Yeah, Cortland Sutton and Trey Tucker might be the only playable options in that game, according to Steve. So if you got those. Here's a sneaky start, and I doubt he's available on waivers anymore because he's undefeated. But Justin Fields versus the Cowboys defense, anything you can do run game-wise against the Cowboys. Even George Pickens might be a good start this week against them. Any of their wide receivers, Pratt Freiermuth at tight end. That defense is depleted. Two of their best players are out and will be out. Deron Bland is still out. They're in trouble. They're just elevating rookies and practice squad players. They're not doing anything yet. So, I agree with Steve. So let me go to one of my teams, Emory, this week and ask.
I have a quick question
about.
So whenever, I'm just blanking on the starter for the Chiefs, who just got hurt.
Rashee Rice.
Sorry, running back.
When Pacheco.
Pacheco, yes. Yeah. Whenever he went out, I picked up Steele.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I was watching the Chiefs game on Sunday, it seemed like Kareem Hunt was kind of
Steele fumbled, so.
Oh, gotcha.
But I would wait and see on that. But again, if you can get Kareem Hunt, it looks like Steele though, I like him. I mean, he's got potential, and we'll see again. Maybe hold on a week. Now, if you can get Kareem Hunt, maybe you call the roster a little bit, but. Golly. All right, so I have, this week I have an interesting quarterback dilemma. I just gave you Steve's advice. So Steve has given me two pieces of advice this week. I have, as quarterbacks on this roster, I have Joe Burrow and Justin Fields. I also have Derek Carr stashed. But in case anything happens to anybody. But Justin Fields against the Cowboys, I have him starting right now, even though that over-under Bengals-Ravens is really high.
Right.
What should I do?
I'm thinking. I mean, I just don't trust the Steelers all that much. I still think you go with Joe Burrow.
Okay.
But
I mean, like I'm going to go back and forth on this.
yeah, it's a tough one for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't have Red Zone, so I haven't watched the Steelers all that much. So if they're playing really well, and were you saying that they're undefeated?
The Steelers. Well, the Steelers are they lost to the Colts this week. Yeah, yeah,
gotcha.
But
I mean, if he's playing well, then
he is playing well, and like he's a running quarterback. It's just now if this is a super flex league, I would be like just all about it, like just rock hard about it. But now I'm not like this is a traditional league here, so.
And I feel like. I think, although the Ravens' defense is really good, I still think Joe Burrow, like that, both of those offenses are going to go, they're going to be putting up some points.
Yeah, I think that's going to get, and I think
it'll be a shootout.
I think the Bengals might have found their sea legs this week also. As for players, I would say look for on waivers, wide receiver wise, if Ladd McConkey's available, go get him. I really am for running backs. Justice Hill is getting a lot of carries and a lot of catches. Although Derrick Henry had the game of all games last week, so that's ridiculous. Roshan Johnson in Chicago. Kenneth Davis, who we have on a segment every Friday, does a Bears podcast.
Right.
I think the Bears are moving in Roshan's direction because they need to be better at getting the ball from here to there. So I think that'll be interesting. And again, Jonathan Taylor's banged up, so look for Trey Sermon this week as well. And tight ends have been a waste this year, but Tucker Kraft appears to be the first option in Green Bay and not Luke Musgrave, which surprised me. Something I want to talk about, and this is going to be the hell was that? The hell was that? NFL offenses. Offenses are down across the board this year. So if you are trying to play, like listen to us on the over-unders. Check the over-unders for those games. Find those games and find those matchups that should have more points. And it's not static week to week. I mean, right now, Patrick Mahomes has the lowest average of his career. You had a couple of offensive explosion games this week, and that'll loosen up. But I think defenses have figured out these offenses a little bit. There's a lot of young quarterbacks. And I really, as a person who's a fan of the running back position in general and thinks it's dumb to see it devalued because you've gotten hooked up on all these other wild offenses, this is what you get. This is what you get when you decide to devalue a position that for the entirety of football, here's how stupid it is. For the entirety of football, it's been one of the most important positions on the field. In nowhere is this more apparent than in Dallas, where they're like, oh, no, we'll just bring back a guy that we didn't want a couple years ago because we're just not, we're not going to make smart moves anymore. So running backs value, I think, as the season goes on, will start to go up because the defenses are now built to stop the pass more than they are to stop the run. And as evidenced by, again, the Cowboys, built to stop the pass more than the run, well, now the pendulum is starting to move back in the other direction. So I would think that running backs will see a statistical boost as we get later in the season because teams, are not going to just stop playing the two high safeties and all that because they don't want to get beat deep. They'll try to stop the run, but especially given the fact that right now people aren't spending on running backs and there's running back by committee, but I think you'll start to see maybe more of those bell cow running backs happening. And in places with old and young quarterbacks, I expect to see the Jets run the ball a little bit more than maybe you would expect them to. Their offense is really bland and dull. Maybe they get Devontae Adams, and that makes everything better for Garrett Wilson and everybody else and Aaron Rodgers. But offenses are down. running backs might be ticking up a little bit. And I'll give another Cowboys example. You know who their best running back is right now is their fullback, Hunter Lipke. Like, he's the one who gets the most points. He gets receptions and he gets first downs. I think they should just make him like just go full. Garrett, you remember Mike Allstott?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, let's go full Mike Allstott and see that. He even has the same number, 40. Yeah.
He was just trucking dudes like crazy. It was, oh man, I've seen highlights.
Okay, Mike Allstott had like the neck thing. Yeah. He didn't look like, if you saw him, it didn't look like he had a neck, but it was still a big neck. It was ridiculous. So do that. That's important. And follow that along. If you have any questions, at Paul Catalina. I know this is a shorter show, but Steve's not here. I can't wax on about ridiculous, stupid things because Emory's young, and I don't want to, hurt his psyche. I'm sure he's got a very serious girlfriend who's going to watch this when he's like, oh, hey, I was on the fantasy show. And he's going to be like, oh, he just gave you all this advice about marriage. Please don't scare him off. Here's what I've
tips about women at the fantasy show.
Here's what I've learned in 1 year of marriage. You're not going to win. It's also not a game. So stop thinking of it like that. Like, you ever play a video game and you're like not good at it at first, and then like there's a level that you just can't get through, and then when you figure it, like you just keep working at it, and then eventually you figure it out, and then every time you play it, you wonder like, how was this so hard before?
Exactly. Yep.
Like that was how it is. This is not that. Don't think of it that way. And since that moment in my life, things have changed. Like, I can see like, oh, it's the red alert right now. Like, don't get into competition mode.
I had a brother growing up, and I would always, whenever we'd play video games, he was always so much better than me. But he would always hog it. And so I'm like, how is he so much better? And then whenever he moved out, I started playing more, and I was like, oh, I could definitely beat him. So I get the reference for sure. Yeah.
I haven't played in quite a long time. I had nephews that were, when they were younger. The cool thing is when they were really young, I could beat them at anything. At anything. And they didn't play like Madden or anything, so like we'd play sports games, even when they got better. Like we'd play Madden and they would rage quit. They'd be like, no, I can't. I'm like, well, they're like, this is not fair. This is what you do for a living. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, believe me, people who don't do this for a living beat my ass online all the time. But, I'm old and slow, so you just have to learn the game. But we would play other stuff like, any kind of like fighting game or anything like that. It would last 10 seconds. I'm like, wait a minute, I just beat you like
seeing ghosts out there.
3 weeks ago, I remember one of my nephews was like, you shouldn't have let me borrow it. Oh yeah, I said that was dumb on my part. I should have just kept this. You can do this here, but like, oh, can I borrow this? Well, yeah, I'm not only playing it when you're coming here, so I'll see you in 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks later, it's just like hooked. Done. He's like, oh, I've played through the other level, like the story mode. I played through that one too and beat the game. I'm like, oh no, great.
Then you're in for it.
Yeah, I don't have to. I have a job, sir. I can't play the story mode. Golly. So anyway, that's going to be it for us. Thanks to Garrett Ross. Thanks to Rogue Media. Thanks to 365 Sports, Sigum 365, Emory Winter, Garrett Ross, everybody involved, Mike Hamilton, and a cast of thousands. Have a great night, everybody.